Yes, hello everyone, and welcome to this Microsoft Morning Brew presented by Mozzaik and Iomer. So I'm Knut, and I'm your host today, and I'm here with you, Jason. Maybe you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Great to see you again, Knut. My name is Jason Sorokman. I'm a partner at a firm called Iomer Internet Solutions. Even though we've got internet in our name, we probably do much more intranets nowadays than we once did. Um, so yeah, great to be here talking a little bit about uh, where SharePoint is today, where it's going, and some other options and functionality that we can add with some of the great add-ons that are available.
Sounds very, very interesting. And everybody attending, we have the public chat available. So please feel free to pop in some questions for me or Jason if you have that. If there are things that you're wondering about, like what are the latest trends or what are things that you might think is important to talk about when it comes to unlocking the SharePoint's full potential, because that's the title of today's talk, and we will be running for half an hour with the Q&A. So please feel free to drop us some questions, because yeah, SharePoint has become a pretty strong platform the last few years, Jason, with all the latest enhancement that Microsoft has been doing. So what would you say would be kind of the trends of the market, because today we will talk about the trends, we'll talk about how we can boost it, and then of course in the end we will have open Q&A discussion. But if I'll just jump to the next slide, like Jason, like what are your trends that you see that your customers are coming to you with?
Yeah, I think this, these three bullets are a great way for us to form and frame this conversation. Everyone is going to see AI, and in the Microsoft space, it's Copilot, anything and everything. Um, that I think is really the biggest trend we're seeing, but it also feels like it's a little bit of a playground. I think right now in that space. AI, most of the examples that we're seeing are predominantly about content creation. I think where this is interesting is when we look at that second statement in our AI and automation. That's where I think it's going to be very interesting as we continue moving forward. AI content creation, whether it's in Microsoft Word, whether it's in PowerPoint, and we're seeing it coming to the management and creation of SharePoint pages. So it'll automate a lot of those features for us. But I find when I talk to many of my customers, especially the communication team, they still want to manage and curate that message. So using AI for full content creation, many seem to be pushing back a little bit in that space. But what they would love to have is AI to help manage the governance of that content. My communication professionals, they prepare the content, they write it at the right language, they apply the correct tone to that message based on their corporate branding standards. Now, I might write a news message that I think is very compelling, but it doesn't meet their corporate branding standards and communication strategy standards. So they would love to see some of the AI features apply some of those types of rules. So I think that's where we're going to see in some of the AI. Knut, what are you seeing in that area?
Yeah, I can kind of resonate really well with some of the things that you are saying, because of course when it comes to SharePoint and SharePoint out of the box, if we should cover that, and AI capabilities, everybody's waiting for Copilot to be available in SharePoint, for kind of get some assistance to write things. But on the other hand, you will still need people to kind of check whatever has been written, what have been suggested by the AI, so in a sense, like, yes, it might help you, but on the other hand, maybe you'll actually write that message quicker by just writing it, instead of kind of waiting for the AI to generate it, and then you need to kind of spell check it, and you have to kind of go in and check the message if it's the right one afterwards. I think you will actually spend more time on doing just that than to kind of go and just write it by yourself. But of course, if you should write a big article about something, then which is a multiple pages, then it's of course a different matter. But on the other hand, like automation is also like big here, like for instance, like with SharePoint and Copilot in SharePoint, you can use Copilot to create sites in SharePoint for you, in a sense, and then of course you might save more time on allowing the AI or the automation to take thing again. But again, you will have to have an approval because someone will have to
Yeah.
need to go and check everything that happened. So it's not like, and that's why I kind of like Microsoft saying it's a co-pilot and not an autopilot. That's kind of the phrase that
Yeah.
Microsoft jumping around with these days, because like if you think it's an autopilot and that you can just go and take a cup of coffee and wait for things to finish and then you can just move to the next task, then you will fail with AI. But if you
Yeah.
use it to kind of do some of the tasks that you have to do and you feel that, hey, this helps me and I will save time, then heck yeah, that will help you quite a lot. But for me, like what I would love to see from AI, it's more from kind of flipping the coin in a sense. Like I would rather have AI come in to say me like, hey, Knut, this article you wrote like 6 months ago, maybe it's time to update it. Like I would want those things to come from the AI instead of helping me just with the content creation. Or it should come in and say, hey, Knut, now you have someone in the organization that had basically shared externally some files, and are you aware of that? Like that type of AI, I think everybody will love, but Microsoft haven't done that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that is, we do a lot of SharePoint powered intranets. We use a lot where we add on some of the other features. And one of the big reasons why customers are looking for something, I always say maybe that SharePoint Plus, one of the boosts specifically in that AI automation is around lifecycle management or governance of those pages. SharePoint is a phenomenal platform designed really for collaboration first. And in an intranet, a lot of times we're communication first. And
Yeah.
and that is where it does change. So I think very interesting for us to continue watching these trends to see if Microsoft adjusts their focus to move a little bit more into lifecycle management governance of that. But maybe as we move into that next topic, where I think they've made some great announcements over the last little while at the M365 conference, Microsoft Build, really in this whole year of the first part of 2024, is in some enhanced user experience. What do you see there, Knut, that is exciting you and maybe concerning you?
Around what? Could you repeat, please? I didn't catch
The
it.
enhanced user experience. So
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting thing coming there. And of course, like a lot of these things will come end of this year. But what we have right now is, of course, a brand center, from Microsoft, where it should be possible for organization that has multiple brands within themselves, to have a SharePoint hub site that, for instance, will have the different branding. So you can have different colors and different fonts, even Microsoft coming with custom fonts. But again, it's like if you give too much power to kind of people, then maybe you will have a Webdins font or like some other fonts that people cannot read. I remember like when I started to work as a Microsoft consultant, I was a developer, and then I had a customer that wanted MS Comic Sans as the font, and it was not beautiful, and we tried to argue against it, but they strongly kind of pushed that font. So of course, that is my concern, that like it might impact the readability of the intranet, with the power of having a custom font. And of course, the nice thing, of course, with how Microsoft is doing it, is that it's easy for add-ons to utilize the branding and the fonts that they're coming with, and all of the web parts will inherit the same font eventually, but not now. Like for instance, if you will go and enable branding center and start to play around with custom fonts right now, it's not every web part that is supported yet when it comes to having that custom font. And I don't think anyone from a communication department would approve an intranet where you will have some bits with one font and then other bits with another font. So yeah.
yeah, and that's interesting, and I think maybe sometimes Microsoft is remiss in some of their announcements, and if you look at the SharePoint roadmap, you see there's a lot of great enhancements, but I think that's a great example. Not every web part is going to respect the branding center settings
Hmm.
from Microsoft. Not every customer realizes that. They buy into the hype. We know it's coming, but unfortunately, the finished product might be a year or a year and a half out. If we think of some of the announcements that we've had in the Microsoft space, things that they announced last year at the M365 conference, we haven't quite got. So
Yeah.
we're 12 months post that, and we don't have everything that they promised us then.